Hello, and welcome to Right from the Kickoff. Obviously with your host Joe Wright, and joining me as always today is William Bayliss. How you doing? Well,
I'm very well, Joe, as always. How are you?
yeah, I'm all good, mate. Just ready to talk some good football. And it's been another action-packed weekend in the Premier League. So again, run of the mill, talk about some main talking points, and then we'll go on to the fixtures. The results from this weekend, and then we'll go on to the fixtures coming up for this weekend in Premier League action, of course, including our players of the week, which we'll be doing this week. Have you got a few players in mind, Will?
I do indeed, as always. And just before we get started, we're just two average Joes, aren't we? Particularly you, Joe, because your name is Joe.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any arguments or anything they want to say up, bring it up in the comments and we'll get a good discussion going, can't we, Joe?
Might as well say this at the top of the show as well. We've started now doing a bit of an Instagram account. We've got this running on Facebook, and we will also, after today's show, be running a YouTube channel as well. So you can access this on many different platforms of social media. Right, let's get on with the action then. So the first thing that I really want to talk about, and we kind of decided today was going to be the key talking point, because of course had a massive impact on top four, was the Tottenham Arsenal game. Now, obviously, if you didn't watch the game, Tottenham took the league with what I will only describe as the most sublime
what a goal.
we've ever spoke about, we've ever seen. Honestly, unbelievable. And then of course, Arsenal went on to win the game, equalising in the first half, and then scoring a penalty in the second half to win the game. And obviously Tottenham going down to 10 men, and they actually did play better with 10 men. But what I want to do is that, Will, have you got any kind of, how did you feel the game played out?
Well, I thought it was quite an interesting contest because obviously before the game, Aubameyang was seen in traffic coming in late, so he was not in the squad through disciplinary reasons. Tottenham actually came in as favourites. They had a bit more momentum behind them. I thought Tottenham actually started quite an attacking lineup, playing like Mora, Son, Kane, and Bale. So you thought, oh, they're really going to go for it today. But I don't think it planned out with that. The match started with Arsenal. They were actually starting on top with a lot of possession and had a few decent chances, didn't they? Particularly with Smith Rowe hitting the post, he was unlucky not to score there.
Yeah.
And then I think the main thing in the game, or one of them, was when Son was injured. I know I was gutted because he was in my fantasy football, so we didn't get many points.
Yeah,
but
I've got to be honest, when that happened, Will, just talking to you as a mate, I did punch the air because I knew he was in your team. So, and you're chasing me down at the moment in our own little fantasy league. So I was happy.
Yeah, I had an awful game week, but that's a different story.
Yeah, I didn't have much better, mate, to be honest. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think once Song went off, it was a key moment, wasn't it? We know he's one of their best players, not only just one of their top goal scorers, but assist maker. He's got similar numbers to Kane in both categories, hasn't he? So when he's one of their most vital players, and of course then Lamela came on, scoring an absolute. Well, just describe the goal, Will. What was it all about? I mean, that was just an unbelievable goal, wasn't it?
Well, it was a Rabona, wasn't it? We actually saw him score Rabona in a Europa League a few seasons ago, didn't we? It was like in the top corner. But this one, nutmegged Arsenal playing in front of him and cooled round and nestled in the far corner, didn't it? It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think what got me about this particular goal is obviously it was on the left hand side of the box, as camera facing it, and it was just he just managed to, the way he managed to strike it with the Rabona. It was fantastic, and it really caught the keeper by surprise, and obviously the defenders. But let's be honest about this. Other than the goal, we're talking about the goal because it was so fantastic. But other than the goal, Tottenham really didn't threaten until they went down to 10 men through some unbelievable petulance from Lamela. So he scored the goal, and then it was just a mad 5 minutes from him in the second half, wasn't it? Obviously Odegaard scored the equaliser, and then we'll talk about the penalty in a second. But I just want to touch on the mad 5 minutes of Lamela. Gets a yellow card, which the first one I'm a bit, I'm not really sure whether it is a yellow card. Obviously, a bit of a rough tackle, but he gets the ball first and then gets his man with the trailing leg.
Yeah, but like you say now, it's not about just winning the ball. It's a follow through as well. What referees look at. It's not like 15, 20 years ago where it was, if you get the ball, it's fine. It's a different age, isn't it, Joe?
I do understand what you're saying, and it is a different age. I mean, we're talking even when we first started watching football back in 2000, early 2000s, 2005 sort of thing, you could make that challenge and it not be a yellow card at all. It would actually be hailed as a good tackle, but like you say, it's all about the follow through now, so it's more about the safety of players. It's becoming less of a contact sport. But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. But then you can't have any complaints about the second yellow card. Really petulant.
No. If you tangle out an arm, it's always going to get it. And
yeah. And
he literally went from hero to zero, didn't he?
Yeah, he really did. And actually, you could make the argument, in my opinion, that if he wasn't already on a yellow card, it could have been a straight red.
I'm not so sure about that one.
Well, for me, if you look back at the replay, you can tell Lamela knows what he's doing. It's not an accidental arm, and I think that's where you're being a bit dicey with the line. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying it was definite red, but because you could quite clearly see there was some intent there. If there's no intent and it's accidental, we've seen them giving yellows all day, but for me, he knows what he's doing. So for me, it could possibly be a straight red. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying in my head, it was more of an orange at that point, if mixture between the two.
I'm going to have to disagree on that one. Only because he didn't make contact with his face, didn't he? We saw it. If he makes contact with the face, it's definitely red. But because it's just below that, then it's not a straight red. But at the end of the day, he got sent off, didn't he, for it? So
he did. He did. I mean, we are kind of just picking up on a bit of a semantic there. He got sent off for it. Stupid yellow card, wasn't it, to get, and especially just having been booked. We're not talking about, he'd been booked earlier on in the game and then it was sort of 60 minutes later. We're talking the two cards were sort of 3-4 minutes apart. So, you've got to walk a fine tightrope, haven't you? But anyway, going back to the penalty decision that obviously ended up winning Arsenal the game. Lacazette scoring a nice penalty, slotting it into the right side of the goal, bottom corner. What did you make of the actual award of the penalty? Now, we know that this was quite contentious. I've seen a lot of pundits say that, the ball's gone. Lacazette went to kick the ball and then he's kicked the man. And Sanchez has basically just come through and took him out. Sorry, not Sanchez. I think it's Aurier that's taken him out. What do you make of the decision? Because I know it was quite contentious.
Well, for me, it's a clear penalty. Ironically, though, if he had actually, because he swung a boot on it, the Arsenal player, and completely missed it. But ironically, if he actually made contact with the ball, I think the Spurs defender would have just got the ball as well. So it's ironic how, because he missed the ball, then the challenge came in from the side. So I actually think if he made contact with it, with the ball, then we are in
complete agreement with this one. I think it was a stonewall penalty, but just playing devil's advocate, kind of the other argument of it, people will say that because he's missed it and the chance is gone, no. And you can see that Lacazette's momentum is taking him into the Tottenham defender's leg. Some people would say that's not a penalty because it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But for me personally, from the Tottenham defender's point of view, what's he doing trying to make that tackle?
Yeah, from the side, it's such a dangerous one. Like, if you make contact in the box, then you're asking for trouble, really, aren't you?
For me, that's the problem. I think, people can sit there and go, well, he's a bit unlucky to concede the penalty. But the actual tackle itself was just stupidity, in my opinion. Making 100%. That type of challenge, especially because he was actually coming in from in behind in the side, so he wasn't exactly in a position of advantage. Sometimes you can say that somebody makes a tackle from the front of them or from the side of them where they can get to the ball. Sometimes it's just a missed time challenge and the penalty's given, but he's never actually in a position where he can win the ball, in my opinion. So I just think it was stupidity. But Arsenal went on to win this game, and I think it was fully deserved, to be honest. Arsenal outplayed
Yeah,
Tottenham.
I think ironically when Tottenham went down to 10 men, they actually played better. We saw in
Yeah,
the
they
last
did.
minute where Kane was really lucky with him hitting the post from his free kick, wasn't he? So it
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
been a
I
draw,
mean,
but I think Arsenal just about edged it in the end. I think it was deserved, in my opinion.
yeah, definitely so. And actually, for them getting into Europa League, I'm not going to say Champions League because they are miles off it, in my opinion. Um, Europa League, they've still got a chance to get into that, and they are putting a good run of games together. They're not losing. Obviously, they drew to Burnley a week ago or so. But Europa League's the big one for them, really, isn't it? For Arsenal, they've got to try and get something out of that. But no, it was a good result, and it really does. Going on to kind of the top four conversation for Tottenham, it really does put a dent in their top four aspirations. They had a bad run of games sort of a month ago. I think losing 5 in the league, something like that. 5 out of 6 games, and that's kind of put them behind the pack. They've then built up a head of steam, winning 2 Europa League games, winning 3 Premier League games as well. Bale looked to be more at it, but this loss has really kind of put the reset button on that a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it doesn't stun their momentum, but I think the last top four place is going to be really interesting. I know we're going to touch on it properly later on, but Tottenham are currently on 45 points, currently 6 points away from Chelsea, even though they do have a game in hand, Tottenham do. So it's not writing it off, but there's a lot of teams between Tottenham and Chelsea now, so it's going to be very, very tight, I think, at the end
Just
of it.
just going on to kind of last week's results predictions of this particular game. Me and you both had. Well, I had a draw for the North London derby, which I was very close to getting, to be honest.
You,
Harry Kane hitting the post and stuff. Um, but of course, with a 2-2 draw. But of course, you went for Tottenham, and actually, we did a little poll on our Instagram, didn't we? And the general consensus was, I think it was 75% thought Spurs were going to win. So
yeah,
it it goes to show that even if your favourites coming into it, doesn't always, and that's what makes the Premier League fantastic, doesn't it? You don't always know what's going to happen. Arsenal put a good performance in, but they were always going to against the North London derby, in the North London derby, weren't they? So
yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Anything can happen at the end of the day. I know we always say it, but it's true.
Right, moving on to just quickly. Obviously, I know we said we are going to talk about top four, but we're going to go on to Friday night's game, Aston Villa Newcastle. Was really a non-entity for the first 70 minutes, wasn't it? To be honest, 0-0. First 80 minutes really, and then of course Ollie Watkins gets kind of a diverted shot. I think it goes down as an own goal. 87 minutes scores, and then Newcastle get a much-needed equaliser. I didn't really see that coming, to be honest, because again they're not really. They played some half decent stuff, but they didn't really threaten too much. What did you make of that? And is that a vital point for Newcastle?
Yeah, I think they would have taken it before the game, and I'd certainly take it after LaSalle scoring in the 94th minute. Again, that does dent Aston Villa's Europa League chase now. I think they were certainly missing Grealish, weren't they? They just didn't have that spark up front like they would normally do. I know we said that the last few weeks, but hopefully he'll be back for their sake and be lighting up the Premier League again. But if you're a Newcastle fan, you'll take the point. I think it might be a vital point at the end of the day, don't you think?
I think especially with going 1-0 down with 5 minutes to go, you're fearing the worst at that point, aren't you? So I think you're right in terms of that they're happier with it. But no, I think it's still a point, obviously, but as we'll discuss in a bit, I don't think the Brighton result has helped them. But no, I think it was a good point for Newcastle, not so much for, like you say, Aston Villa's Europa League hopes, but they really are missing Grealish, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Right, moving on. So this was the lunchtime kickoff. Leeds versus Chelsea. Now we both had a a 2-0 win to Chelsea, especially with the form that they're exhibiting. It's actually a 0-0. Now that sounds boring, but I watched this game and I have to say, for it being a 0-0, it was actually quite an entertaining game. There was chances for both sides. Chelsea will feel that they should have gone on to win it, really, especially with the second half display. But again, I think it shows that Tuchel's got them kind of working in a way of getting these points, making sure they don't concede goals, and they are becoming a lot more difficult to beat. But good point for both teams, really, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I mean, a 0-0
I say
is unheard of for Leeds, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I think something like 2 all season. This was the second 0-0 all season. They score a lot of goals, as we know. So yeah, like you say, it was unheard of.
Yeah, I think Chelsea should have edged it. Obviously, Havertz had 2 really good chances, didn't he, in the game? And I don't know, maybe he should have taken them. But obviously, he hasn't been in that much form this season. He came into the season, him and Werner from Chelsea were like, they're going to tear up this Premier League. So when they were at their respective clubs, they tore up in Germany, didn't they? So
yeah. I mean,
he would have scored it, but
yeah, hopefully they can come back and get have a better second season. But both of those players have kind of underperformed this season, even under Tuchel. Really, you can't say they've set the Premier League alight. Yes, they're getting results and they're grinding them out, but I think that's more down to the manager's setup than the actual players, to be honest. He's got them set up in a much more difficult system to play against, which is what you need to do as a manager, obviously. But no, I said good result for both. I'm actually going to change that. I think it was points dropped for Chelsea.
yeah,
Especially for the Champions League push, as we're talking about. So, and that kind of opened the door for the rest of the teams playing for that weekend. Right, moving on. Crystal Palace, West Brom. We both had 0-0s in this one, didn't we, Will?
yeah, we did.
It was quite a boring game, to be honest, and obviously won by a Milivojevic penalty. So what did you make of the game? Zaha was back, and you can tell that really gave Crystal Palace a boost, but it wasn't.
Yeah, they had that extra fight, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a boring game.
Yeah, but I think Palace will take that. I think they're pretty much safe now.
Yeah, they are.
All really well for them. So I think it was a vital point, but I think it just really condemned West Brom to what we all think now, because they're 10 points adrift with only 9 games to go for West Brom. So it's a very, very tough ask. And
they're going to need some miracle form, aren't they? We're talking sort of, if you look at it, we're probably talking sort of Leicester back in 2015, 14-15 season, when they were on 19 points with 10 games to go. Similar sort of form is going to be needed, and I think Leicester won 7 out of the last 9 games to get out of that situation. So it's a very similar situation for West Brom, and they're going to need that sort of form.
I mean, if that happens, they'll be confident for next season if they can do a Leicester.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was like I say, it was a poor result for West Brom, because it's that stage of the season now, isn't it, where these teams need to start winning these games. So you look at it like that and you go, well, this isn't looking too great for them. And I think Big Sam could be the first time he gets a team relegated, which is unheard of, really. But I think with the strength and depth that West Brom have got, it's just not enough.
No, I think
you look at it.
No way. I think they're doomed at this point.
And like I was saying, when I look at West Brom, it looks like a Championship side playing. I don't mean to sound harsh, but it really does. They're playing Championship football in the Premier League, and that's never going to save you, unfortunately. Right, moving on to the next game. Now, this was a very, very surprising result for the both of us. We had both had an Everton win on this one, just by the odd goal, but Burnley won this one 2-1. Now, I want to say something very quickly before I pass over to you. Well, two Burnley goals taken with extreme quality. The first goal was beautiful by Chris Wood, gets the ball down, doesn't get closed down, of course, but bends it right into the far right corner. Keeper had no chance. But oh my God, McNeil's goal. We talk about Lamella's goal being the best of the weekend, and it definitely was. But this was definitely a close second. Gets the ball on the edge of the box, takes it around the defender, and then just unleashes an unbelievable curled shot into the top left-hand corner. What did you make of the goal? It was beautiful, wasn't it?
Oh, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? You'll take that every week if you're a Burnley fan. I know it held them in really good stead for the rest of the game. We all know Burnley's qualities, and they really shone through. Apart from the Calvert-Lewin goal, which happens.
I think to be honest, Everton were always chasing this game. They went 2-0 down pretty quickly. I think they were 2-0 down when it went over the 30-minute mark. So they were always chasing. Got a goal back pretty quickly through Calvert-Lewin, and you kind of did think they were going to get back into it, but didn't really create much after that, to be honest, did they?
No, not at all, really. I think that's a major dent for the chasing pack. Now, I know they're equal points on Liverpool with a game at hand, but it's going to be tough if they want to reach up.
It's going to be now because I was talking to you about this from a Leicester perspective. A couple of games ago they would have been level on points with Leicester if they won the game in hand. And now they're 7 behind Leicester if they win the game in hand. So they're currently 10 points behind Leicester. And at this stage of the season, I've always said this: you want the points on the board, not the games in hand.
Yeah, because you never know what's going to happen. Nerves play a major factor into it. It's a mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's psychological, isn't it? It is psychological because it puts pressure on you to win that game. Everton now have massive pressure to win that game in hand. They have to win that game in hand. Otherwise, Champions League football for me is over for them. But yeah, it was a poor display. Burnley played really well, don't get me wrong, and actually exhibited real moments of quality. And actually, we know that they've got that in the side, don't we? Over Sean Dyche. So now it was a good good performance. Okay, moving on. Fulham, Man City. Me and you both had a 3-1 for this because I thought Fulham would score, but it turned out to be 3-0 to Man City. This isn't going to define Fulham's season, is it? They were just playing a far better side. They did make mistakes, but I think Scott Parker's going to just try and get in the Reds and say, look, everyone makes mistakes, and I'd rather you make them against a team like Man City than make them in vital games. So I don't think this is going to be a real dent for Fulham, to be honest.
Yeah, and if you have a look at Man City, they hound you on the ball. You saw it in the Champions League against Gladbach. They had about 4 players on the ball. Four players trying to get the player from losing the ball, and I think it just creates pressure, doesn't it? And
yeah,
you're just not surprised, are you? At the end of the day, 3-0, even though it was 0-0 at halftime, wasn't it? You're like, oh, I think Fulham would have went in halftime just a sigh of relief, and obviously. Man City at the second half just stepped up a few more gears and demolished them, really, didn't they?
Yeah, I was reading a very interesting stat actually about the way that Pep Guardiola likes his teams to play, and we all kind of know it, we can see it, but he has this thing called a 5-second rule, and that basically means as soon as you lose the ball, try and win it back within 5 seconds, and you can see it, they kind of swarm you, don't they? And that's what happened when Fulham conceded the goals. You can sit there and say, it was poor play by Fulham, but as soon, like you say, the pressing from Man City is just unbelievable. Best pressers in the league this season by far.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think it was kind of a foregone conclusion in the fact that Man City are playing the way they're playing. Like I said, I don't think it's going to have a real impact on what Fulham do. I can still see Fulham getting out of it because you'd almost have marked this down as a loss before as a Fulham fan, wouldn't you? And if you could have got anything out of it, it would have been a massive bonus. So I don't think there's much worry there. But again, Man City storming towards the title. Right. Moving on to Sunday's game, because that was the Saturday night game. Moving on to Sunday's games, we got Southampton Brighton. Now this was a key game, really.
Massive game for Brighton.
But I think for both sides, to be honest, because I think if Southampton win this, they're pretty much safe, and they're still being talked about as much as we think they're safe. You don't want to be talked about in terms of relegation, and we all know that their form's not great. I mean, they beat Sheffield United 2-0, but as we'll go
Any
on,
team can.
yeah, as we'll go on later on in the show, Sheffield United are very, very poor. But yeah, so 2-1 for Brighton. They took the chances this week. I thought they missed a couple of chances in the first half. Scored a dunk header from a corner. Chi Adams got Southampton level. And then, of course, Trosser scores an absolutely beautiful worked goal. I think Lallana passes the ball through to Welbeck. He then lays it off towards Trosser, who's free, and just smashes it into corner. And that's kind of what you're expecting, with the amount of chances they create. They took the chances this week and they got 3 points. Surprise, surprise. What do you make of it?
I think Brighton have always had it in the locker. I've always said Brighton are a very, very good side. They just can't get the ball in the back of the net. But when it clicks, it clicks. And I think they should be the means for them to carry on. I know they've got a massive game coming up, which we'll talk about in great detail against Newcastle. But I think a very, very good, not just performance, but a good team performance as well, don't you think?
Yeah, no, very good team performance. And, I think, the manager's going to be very happy because you can see him on the sideline sometimes. He has to come out and say the same thing. But, they've always been calm, haven't they? And I think they've got enough to stay in the league, personally. I think they'll be okay. The team that I worry about the most at the moment has to be Newcastle, but we'll go on to talk about that later. This is good 3 points, and I think it puts less pressure going on in towards that Newcastle game, doesn't it? Because if they hadn't got the 3 points today, it would have made it even a bigger game than it already is, which just piles the pressure, especially losing the way you did against Leicester, but they got the win, so it really does kind of steady the ship a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Southampton still safe in your opinion?
I think they'll be safe overall. I think it'll be tough. I know the next game is going to be against Burnley, so that'll be another tough game, but you just have to get points on the board at the end of the day. And I think they'll just keep safe. Like you said, I'm just worried about. I think it'll be out of Fulham, Burnley. Sorry, it'll be Fulham, Southampton, or Newcastle going down. So it'll be tough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Southampton have got too much, and I think again, like we've just said, they've got points on the board, haven't they? So we'll see what happens. Right, next game, and something that I've been looking forward to talking about because we were absolutely brilliant. I mean, we were playing a very poor Sheffield United side, as I said earlier, but 5-0 to Leicester City. What did you make of this one, Will? And Ian Nacho had a 5-star man display, didn't he? He's had a lot of stick throughout his Leicester career. Especially having to be compared to the likes of Jamie Vardy, but scoring a hat-trick can't get much better. And of course, Jamie Vardy got 3 assists in this one, so even though he didn't score, he did play a vital role.
Yeah, I think Leicester were really, really impressive against, frankly, a really poor a poor Sheffield United side. Obviously, I know Chris Wilder was sacked going into that, so they were very lacking in terms of it anyway. And it just shows that as soon as he leaves, the players are just crumbling even more.
Yeah,
I think Chris Wilder was the only one to gel them together, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, I know exactly, and I think to be honest, you talk about the fact that Sheffield United have played as poorly as they have done this season. They haven't really. They've been quite close, been competing in a lot of games, and their points tally is actually quite unlucky for what they've done up till now. But Sunday for me, they just completely threw in the towel. I mean, you look at, I think it's Ian Nacho's third goal to make it Leicester 4-0. Yes, he strikes a lovely ball and he beats the keeper from outside the box. Beautiful. But note that the players are just backing off him and just giving him space. And he just goes, all right, if you're not going to close me down, I'm going to hit it. He hits it and he goes into the back of the net. I mean, what do these Sheffield United players expect? There's literally, if you watch the goal back, there's 4 players around him and they're all backing off him, just letting him take the space. It's not good enough for this level. Just going on to Sheffield United in terms of talking about them, because great result for Leicester, but don't really want to stick on that. Where do you think they'll go championship-wise? Because obviously we know they're going to get relegated now. How do they rebuild? Because it's going to be difficult for them now, isn't it?
Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't have got rid of Wilder. I mean, like we say, we don't know what happened behind the closed doors, but I think it's going to be a real struggle without Chris Wilder, who at the end of the day got them to back-to-back promotions. So it'd be a tough one. It could go either way for me.
Yeah, I think obviously reading some of the Sheffield United fans' reaction over the last couple of days and stuff as well. I think before Chris Wilder got sacked, they still believed in him, and they still believed that if they were in the Championship, he'd be able to kind of get them back up, at least challenging maybe playoffs. Maybe even to that top 2 spot. So the fact that they've got rid of him now, it's kind of, the future is very dark for Sheffield United at the moment. Especially with the result of the weekend against Leicester straight after he's been sacked. I think that really compounded the misery for a Sheffield United fan, didn't it?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Chris Wilder last season did a miracle with frankly average players. They were like Championship players at the end of the day, and they just didn't bolster the squad effectively. Like, they just bought all Championship players, didn't they? Really?
Yeah, even Brewster, he played for Swansea last season, didn't he? So Championship caliber player, even though he's been at Liverpool. He'd been nowhere near their first side. And I just feel like Sheffield United, we'll just see what happens. But it was a very, very poor performance. And this is the thing, is even from a Leicester fan's perspective, watching it as just a pundit, you were kind of thinking they never performed like this under Chris Wilder. It always made it difficult. Me and you both had the game being a lot closer. We both went for Leicester wins, as you would do, just because of the respective places in the table. But you went for a lot closer games. I mean, I'm a Leicester fan, and even I was surprised by the result, to be honest, and the lack of fight that they had.
Yeah.
Just going to read you a couple of quotes, actually, just speaking about Sheffield United. Read you a couple of quotes from Billy Sharp. It was men against boys. We threw in the towel. We need to be doing a lot better than we're doing. And the performance was completely unacceptable. And I think that just compounds, from your leading man, that just compounds the performance, doesn't it? If your captain's saying that, your club captain, it's not really good, is it?
No, not at all. You have to appreciate the honesty there. I mean,
yeah, but
it was obvious at the end of the day, but I would be embarrassed as well being in Sheffield United at the moment.
Yeah, for me, he was the only player that put any fight, but even he was up front, and they didn't have a chance. They had one shot off target, which kind of shows you the game as a whole for them. Anyway, moving on. So good win for Leicester, and a good win for them in terms of the Champions League push. Really kind of benefited from a couple of results this weekend, didn't they? Especially with the run they've got. Okay, moving on. We've already spoken about the Arsenal-Tottenham game. So next game, Man U West Ham. Massive game. The result was important. Didn't really deliver though, did it? Man U West Ham, in terms of the actual game itself, from the neutral point of view, it wasn't great.
Yeah, it was a bit of a good game, really. I mean, Man United deserved to win. They had far more shots than West Ham. West Ham didn't even have a shot on target. But I just want to have a quick shout out for Harry Maguire, because I know he's had a lot of stick in the past year, the exploits off the game, him getting sent off for England, etc., etc. But I think he's coming into his own now, and I think he's been a real credit since this all happened. I think he's taken it on his chin, and he's been leading the squad going forward, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, and I'd also like to add, obviously, with him being an ex Leicester player, he, I think he was always going to have negative opinions with him. He had the comparison of Van Dijk, with the price tag of 80 million on him. So he was always fighting an uphill battle as soon as he came into the club, because Man United, they almost expect a ready-made player. No disrespect to Leicester, but you're going from Leicester to Man United. The two teams are different in terms of the way the media sees them as well. So there's a little bit less pressure on you at Leicester City, whereas the pressure's kind of rife at Man United. So like you say, I think he's done very well to hold it on his chin, and he is coming into his own. But I think that's kind of, he's become a product of that environment now, and he's kind of more comfortable in it, and you can see that in his performances.
Yeah, I mean, he was held up strong. He shepherded the ball. It's actually, his footwork has really improved as well, because I know he's been known, when he was at Leicester, he got called a slab head by Jamie Vardy, didn't he? So
Yeah,
I think he has a lot more technical ability than he's letting on.
Yeah, but I think if players, if you look at him as a centre back, I think, and you're a teammate of his, and I remember a time at Leicester, he is a much more technical player than people give him credit for. Always making those runs into midfield, as he used to be an ex midfielder, and then dropping back into that centre back role. So he's handy with his feet. He can. He's got a bit of pace about him as well. I think he gets a bit harshly treated by the media, definitely. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was a very good performance from him. And of course, Man U went to win this 1-0. Just touching upon West Ham, they didn't have Lingard, which showed.
I definitely showed.
Parent club in Man United, so he was ineligible for this game. But I have to say, David Moyes, for me, set up to play for a point. He had 4 defenders, obviously, at the back, and then 3 central defensive midfielders. And obviously, he had Bowen and Antonio up top. But if you're going to set up like that, they kind of had a 4 and then a 3 in front. What do you kind of make of that? I think it was a 5. I think it was a 5 at the back, actually. Thinking about it.
Yeah, with 2 wing backs almost. Yeah. I think it's always tough when you're away from home. You'll always take a point. So maybe we should have gone for a bit more, but the scoreline might have been a lot more open to that. But it was quite a close game, though. To be fair, so it could have gone either way. You could argue they were a bit unlucky with the own goal, but I think overall, you can't really argue with how we set up. I think you had to really. Yeah. Without Lingard, especially, you don't have that as much the link play as much. I know Lanzini's good, but he's not on the level of Lingard at the moment.
He's not, and I think you look at two of the best teams in the league this season in Man United and Man City. Obviously, the disparity in those 2 teams is quite big, but if you look at the performance that West Ham put together against Man City, yes, they lost the game, but they could have easily got something out of it. And then you look at the performance that they had against Man United, 2 very different performances, but just kind of showing you the difference in how they set up without Lingard, because obviously with the Man City game, they had Lingard involved, and the other game they didn't. So you can kind of look at those 2 games and look how different they are with him and without him. Do you know what I mean? So it was just interesting to see. And then, of course, going on to the last game of the weekend, which was the Monday night, was Liverpool. Wolves-Liverpool, Molineux. What did you make of the game? Just want to say, before we discuss, Rui Patricio, I hope he gets better soon. Looked a horrific injury, sort of around 70 minutes. What did you make of that, Will? And I'm sure you're wishing him a speedy recovery as well.
Yeah, of course. I think it just shows the importance of talking about concussion. I know 20 years ago, no one really cared, did they? But now it's becoming a real talking point, and I think that's good because it's life altering at the end of the day. You saw it with Petr Cech when he was at Chelsea. That's why he had to wear a head guard, and you see it time and time again.
Yeah, one important player I want to point out as well, Ryan Mason ended his career.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Very prominent in Spurs and Hull midfielder at the time when he got the injury. Very good player, and actually was in and around the England setup for a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's really sad.
So, and he was 24, 23, 24, so he wasn't exactly old at the time, was he? So yeah, this kind of stuff needs to be taken more seriously because you do worry. I mean, and of course, if you're in the Wolves camp, you'll know all about it. With obviously Raul getting the injury earlier on the season at Arsenal, and then of course now Rui Patricio. So hopefully speedy recovery for him, and hopefully it's not as bad as it looked. But he was out cold, wasn't he? If you look back at it,
Yeah, it was awful.
Not good to see.
Let's wish him a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the action. I think overall, Wolves are kind of unlucky. I know Liverpool had some good chances, but for Liverpool's goal by Jota of all people to score, I think the keeper has to do better there, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean it's a weird one because obviously Rui Patricio talking about his football, he has to do better, doesn't he? When he was
on his near post as well, he has to
near post, and you could, as soon as the ball went past him, you could see his disappointment on his face from the camera. So yeah, it was a bit of a to and fro performance. You know, of course, you listen to it on Sky Sports, and I don't mean to kind of sort of belittle Sky Sports punditry, but it is quite biased, especially when you've got Jamie Carragher on the commentary. Making sort of, so you'd think that it was one of Liverpool's best performances of the season, but actually watching it as a neutral, it was very 50-50 and could have gone either way, to be honest.
Yeah, I know Wolves had some decent chances, but I think we saw it coming into Fabinho midfielder did make a difference as well, to be fair. And I just want to give a shout out to the two central Liverpool players. I know that were having a lot of stick lately, but I thought they had a real good performance.
Yeah, I think it's Obi-Yang and Calvin Phillips. Nat Phillips, sorry, not Calvin Phillips, Nat Phillips.
Yeah, they played really, really well.
Yeah, and especially with the crisis they've got, they're actually building up a bit of a partnership at the moment, which is good to see. Obviously, they're not going to be Liverpool when everyone's fit and firing. They're not going to be Liverpool's first choice centre back pairing, but they are doing a job that they need to do for now, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
So good for them. And so that's all the results for this weekend. Good weekend. Top four took a bit of a battering in terms of people dropping points here and there. West Ham dropping points, Chelsea dropping points, Spurs dropping points, Everton dropping points. So you'd honestly say that the two teams that benefited this weekend the most would have to be Man United and Leicester City, sitting in second and third, because they obviously managed to come away with the win. So it's good results for those teams, and it'd be just interesting what the picture looks like at the end of the season.
Yeah, only time will tell. But moving on to upcoming fixtures now, it's FA Cup weekend, isn't it, Joe? So there's only going to be 4 Premier League fixtures this weekend. So what do you reckon then, Joe?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we've got the Brighton Newcastle game. What do you think of that one?
I think it's going to be massive for the relegation fight. Massive. I think whoever wins this game will be fairly confident now that they probably will be safe. But you just don't know what's going to happen, don't you? But you have to edge Brighton. You have to say Brighton the favourites going to the game.
Yeah,
they have, as long as they can score.
Yeah, I think you're right. So we've got Brighton. They're playing on the Saturday at 8 o'clock. It's gonna be interesting because we've got. I just can't see Brighton not winning this game with how the two teams are playing. Brighton will create chances. It's just going to come down to what we said all season, whether Brighton can take the chances. But I could see this being 2 or 3-0 here. I'm going to go 2-0 Brighton, to be honest.
Really? I think it'll be a much tighter. I think it's going to be either a 1-0. I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton. I think it'll be close.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Brighton. But we'll see on that one. And then the Friday night game, so just because obviously the key point of how important the Brighton Newcastle game is going to be. The Friday night game, Fulham Leeds. What do you reckon?
I think, again, it's another massive, all the games are massive for either end of the table this weekend. Oh, I think it could go either way, if I'm being honest. It depends what Leeds turns up, but Fulham have form going into it. You can never write up Leeds, can you? I'm gonna go 2-2.
I'm gonna go 1-0 Fulham. I'm gonna go 1-0
Fulham.
The goals recently, as far as Leeds are concerned, I'm talking in the last 2 or 3 matches, and I know it's not a long kind of stint of play, but for Leeds, they're struggling to score a little bit at the moment. And Bamford might be out as well.
Of course,
picked up an injury. So I'm gonna go 1-0 Fulham.
1-0 Fulham.
We'll see
what
happens.
Have huge ramifications as well.
Yeah, and I think because that game's on the Friday, and then of course Newcastle Brighton play on the Saturday. If Fulham manage to get 3 points there, it's going to put more and more pressure on that game.
It'll be massive. Personally.
Yeah. Fulham, I think, will be out of the relegation zone by that point if they win the game on Friday.
Moving on to Sunday.
Moving on to Sunday, Aston Villa versus Tottenham. Now, this is actually a big game in its I don't think Grealish again is going to be back. I don't exactly know when he's going to be back, to be honest. I think they're just kind of nursing his injury a little bit. Tottenham need to win this game, don't they? I think that's all I'm going to say. They need to.
Yeah, they need to if they want any chance. I think they'll do it though. I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham.
I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham. I agree, but I think it's going to be tighter. So I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham. And I also think Villa will score first.
Oh,
I think Tottenham will be fighting from behind because, as we know, Tottenham like to sit behind the ball part of the bus, so to speak. Villa will score and it'll bring Tottenham out of the shell a little bit. Right, moving on to another game on Sunday. That was both these games on a Sunday, and also for some reason the West Ham Arsenal game is on the internet. It's basically saying that it's next, but it's not. It's actually before the Tottenham game. It's a massive game for both clubs, I think, because there's a lot of pressure from the Arsenal fans. I don't think they'll see it as they've got nothing to fight for. West Ham Arsenal.
Ooh, well, obviously West Ham will have Lingard back, obviously, after him not being able to play against the parent club. So it's going to be a massive, obviously it's a London derby as well, but based on form, even though Arsenal will be confident from the Tottenham game, you have to fancy West Ham, don't you, to keep their chances alive, but will they crumble under the pressure? That's a real question.
This is an interesting game because West Ham really need to win this one, don't they, if they want to keep their top 4 chances alive, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. I think they'll be right in the mix if they manage to get something.
This is their game in hand. If they lose this game, they'll be 8 points behind Leicester, only 3 behind Chelsea, but they've still got a few of the top teams to play. So, be interesting. I'm gonna go for 2-1 West Ham. I think West Ham will have this.
We don't normally agree, but I'm going to have to say 2-1 West Ham as well. I think it'll be a close game, but I think West Ham will just nick it.
You say we don't normally agree, Will, but we've agreed on quite a few of the results, especially last week. So it's not
surprising. And look how that got us. We did terribly.
Yeah, although to be fair, the ones that we didn't agree on, I got right, is in terms of the score as well, because I think I got the Liverpool score right as well.
Well, maybe you should disagree with me more often, then, eh?
Yeah. So yeah, those are the games coming up. Obviously, like we've alluded to, we've got FA Cup football coming up, and because of obviously the release of our Instagram profile, and we are going to be setting up a YouTube straight after this, so that this will be on YouTube and the FA Cup. We're going to do an FA Cup special tomorrow. You up for that, Will?
Yeah, I'm up for that. I can't wait to get talking. Obviously, should be good.
Yeah, no, it should be. Right, we've got a little bit something special as well. We just thought we'd do this for a bit of a laugh. Going in. Actually, before we go on to that, sorry, Players of the Week, Will.
Oh, players of the week. I'm going to have to go. Number one has to be Iheanacho for his hat trick. He proves a lot of doubters wrong. And if you saw in an interview after the game, his mum died when he was 14, and to score a hat trick, that was her on Mother's Day as well. I think it was a real emotional time for him, and I'm
Yeah,
so pleased for him.
he when he scored the third goal, he actually got really emotional. If you saw it, I don't know whether you saw it, Will. But he actually did get really emotional. And of course, like you say, his post-match interview was very emotional. And I'm going to be honest, as a Leicester fan, I've been one of his harshest critics. He's never really seemed to fit into the mould, really. But to be fair to him, he's not had a massive run of games. And when he has had a run of games, he's started scoring. He did it last season, when Vardy was out for a bit. He started scoring. But I think this two up top for Leicester seems to be working at the moment. What do you think, Will? And it seems to be benefiting Iheanacho.
Yeah, I think he's got that support up front, and there's playing dividends, isn't it? They're scoring plenty of goals now, so
Yeah, it
means I'll say wish to go on then.
And I think, obviously, with the fact that Vardy's not scoring, of course, he did lay a few on a plate for Iheanacho, which has not got to go unnoticed. But the fact that Vardy's not scoring and Iheanacho's started scoring really does put Leicester's hopes of top four into good stead, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
That was my player of the week anyway.
Okay, cool. Right, we're going to be doing, just very quickly, we're going to be doing a 5 questions each Premier League quiz. I'm going to question Will, and then Will's going to question me, and then we're going to just tally up the end results. Do you want me to go first, Will?
Yeah, you can go first. I'm nervous now.
Right, okay, here we go. You ready for this?
Oh.
Okay. Just getting the questions up. Here we go. So, first question for you, Will. I'll give you the answers at the end. Okay.
Okay.
No, I'll give you the answers straight after. Okay. So you'll know, so you can tally them up yourself. Okay. So, who scored the first ever Premier League goal? Was it A, Brian Dean, B, Chris Sutton, or C, Tony Yeboah?
Well, I know for a fact it was a Forest player. Could you name him again for me, please? I should know this one. I know it's a Forest player.
Brian Dean, B, Chris Sutton, or C, Tony Yeboah?
I'm gonna go A.
You're gonna go A, Brian Dean. Okay. Right, and that is correct. It is A, Brian Dean, and he scored it, just for your information, Sheffield United.
Oh, I thought it was.
He scored it. You'll understand why in a second. Don't worry, I've got a question that kind of puts your it puts your mind at ease with that one, because I know where you've got confused. Right, because I've got another question that answers kind of your confusion.
I got it right.
Okay, so you got it right. It was lucky, but they didn't play for Forest. They played for Sheffield United. Brian Dean, you got it right. Okay, right. Right, this is not a multi-choice one. Who has the second most Premier League titles? Who has the second most Premier League titles?
Is this EPL or top flight ever?
This is top flight ever. So no, this is just Premier League. This is since the inception of the Premier League. So who has the second most Premier League titles? So since 1992, who has the second most Premier League titles?
I think Man United are top. So it's gonna be the top 4. I'm gonna go Arsenal.
You're gonna go Arsenal. That is incorrect.
Oh,
it's Chelsea.
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 Was it close?
It was close. So it was Chelsea have. So Man U have 13, Chelsea have 5, Man City have 4, and Arsenal only have 3.
Oh, I should have known that, shouldn't I? Really?
Yeah, they won those 3 quite early, like earlier on as well. Sort of early.
That's
they
why
won 2. They won 2 in the early 2000s. So you remember him from when you were like a kid, because Arsenal were always challenging at one point.
They had that dominance, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Right. Again, not multi-choice. Which team has been relegated the most from the Premier League since its inception in 1992?
Well, that's one of my questions, so I know the answer to that one. It's Norwich City.
Yes, that is Norwich City. And how many times? Just for not a bonus answer, but how many times?
I'm going to go 5 times, Joe.
Yeah, that's correct. That is correct.
Yes.
It looks like I'm going to get that question. Right, okay. So, okay, Alan Shearer is the all-time top goal scorer for the Premier League, but how many goals has he got to his name? Is it A, 255, B, 258, or C, 260?
Oh, those are all close answers. I'm going to go 258. Oh, 260. Yeah, 258.
258. The answer is C, 260.
Oh, no.
That was unlucky. That was unlucky. How many are you on now? I think you're on. You're on 2, aren't you? Because you got 2 wrong and you got 2 right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Last question. Who scored the first Premier League goal on Sky Sports?
Oh, on Sky Sports, that's way.
Right. Was it?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Oh, is it not A, B, or C?
No.
1992. It might have been too early for Stan Collymore.
He's a very famous Premier League striker.
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna go Teddy Sheringham.
That is correct.
Yes. You really
And-
gave me a hand then, Joe.
What do you say?
You gave me a hand then.
I did give you a hand. And not for a bonus answer, but who did he play for?
Well, he played for Forest, obviously.
Yeah, he played for Forest. Well done. And that's sort of, like I say, that's where the confusion. So obviously, literally, the 2 goals were scored on the same day, but obviously, the Forest game against Liverpool was on the same day, but it was the first one to be televised. So that's where you got confused.
That's
So
interesting.
it wasn't the first Premier League game ever played. It was the first one on Sky Sports.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Right, that's my questions. Well,
3 out of 5, I'll take it.
3 out of 5, you'll take it. Well done.
Okay, so ready for my 5 questions, Joe?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, so my first question is, I wonder if you're going to get this right, Joe. Who has been relegated from the Premier League the most times?
Norwich City, and I'm going to go for it 5 times.
Oh, you know that off the top of your head. Nice one, Joe. Okay, let's get serious now. Question 2. Okay, so what team has scored the most goals in one season in Premier League history? In one season.
Okay, I'm gonna go for Man City. I know it's between Chelsea and Man City, but I'm gonna go for Man City.
And you're 100% right. 2 out of 2. Good start. So question 3 is leading on from that. How many goals did they score? I'm going to give you 3 ones because it might be quite difficult. Is it A, 99? Is it B, 102? Or is it C, 106 goals?
Okay, I'm gonna go for B, 102. I think I know this one.
Oh, you think you know it? But you're wrong. It's 106 goals.
Damn! I knew it was over 100. It was a 50.
That's unbelievable, though, isn't it? If you think about how many goals it is.
That is. Yeah.
So you got 2 out of 3 at the moment. So
yeah, go on.
Number 4. Okay, you might know this one. Who scored the fastest hat-trick in Premier League history?
That's Sergio Mane beating Robbie Fowler's record.
Yeah. 100%. You're on a roll now, Joe. So the final question. So how many are you on again? Are you on 3?
I'm on 3 out of 4. Yeah, this is the tiebreaker.
Okay, this is the target now. I think you might get this one as well for the final question.
Come on,
Who has made the most career appearances in the Premier League?
I think I know this one. I'm going to go for Gareth Barry.
Okay. For the win. Joe said Gareth Barry. Is he right? Of course it's right. It's Gareth Barry. Well done, Joe. You did really well in that, to be fair.
Cheers.
4 out of 5.
Cheers. I'm a bit annoyed about the Man City question, but it's. I knew it was over 100. But
Yeah, it was a tough one, to be fair.
yeah. So that was our mini Premier League quiz, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. How did you find that, Will?
I think it was good. I like that. We should do it more frequently.
Yeah, definitely. Right then, guys, we will be back tomorrow because we're going to be doing an FA Cup special, where we'll talk things all FA Cup leading on to the quarterfinal weekend this coming weekend. Are you ready for that, Will?
Yeah, I can't wait for it.
And Will's going to be hosting it as well. So get your FA Cup facts going, Will.
Oh, 100%. We should do a little quiz on that as well.
Yeah.
And don't forget, because obviously we have an Instagram account now, make sure you like this video, follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and subscribe to us on YouTube now. And yeah, can't wait for tomorrow, Joe. Anything to add?
Nothing to add, mate. Cheers for that.
Cheers to that, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys.